Hello, everyone. Can you hear me for the ones who are here?
Hello.
Hi. So we still have a couple minutes before we get started. Meanwhile, I'm taking care of logistics, guaranteeing everything is okay for our first session. We usually only start right on time. This gives everyone enough time to join. Meanwhile, sounds okay, image is okay, right? All good?
Yes, perfect.
Hey, perfect. Okay, I'm super excited about this. I always love kicking off a new cohort. You're gonna enjoy. I'm gonna guarantee everything is all ready and set on my side. So you have an amazing session that hopefully lives up to the expectations. All right. Okay, I have everything ready. Meanwhile, we're getting more people joining. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in the next few minutes. I hope everyone's excited. I am, as usual. This is going to be cohort number 20 cohorts. I couldn't imagine building 20 cohorts of this program when I got started. This was just a test. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. All right, just clocks into the 6 p.m. is amazing. Everyone just jumps in. I love punctuality. That is beautiful. All right, as we wait more people to join, hello, everyone. I'm going to give a shout out to those with the camera. Hello, Luis. It's awesome. It makes me feel
hello.
Tiago, Antonio, this is beautiful. I call people on their names, just cameras. Miguel joining. That's awesome. By the way, you obviously don't need to have the camera on. So, of course, this is a program that is designed to fit however you want to go through it. Well, on the go. It's beautiful. All right, cool. Seeing everyone here. We're gonna get started in a minute or two. Just gonna wait for more people to join. Meanwhile, making sure my logistics are all set and ready to give you guys an awesome experience. Because this is like the bar. The bar is set by the first session. Like, this is how you'll manage your expectations for the next 4 weeks. We're going to be together for 4 weeks, but trust me, the feedback from the past cohorts say that it flies. Literally, it flies. I feel the same. And I do this, as I said, this is cohort number 20. And time just, boom, disappears. So I'm super excited. By the way, first thing I say as we start our first session is this is supposed to be the most informal program, hopefully, that you'll ever participate or join. The goal, you'll see me, there's no fancy backgrounds and whatnot, no specific clothing. I don't care. I care about the quality of the content. You're going to judge how good the program is based on how good the content is. So hopefully you like this format. It's on purpose. Even the way I go through the content, I try to mix a bit of personal experiences and diatribes and digressions throughout the theoretical frameworks and whatnot. I think it makes it more real. And I think the beauty about live learning that you're joining, and welcome everyone who joined before I started this, after I started this speech. The beauty about live learning is that your questions and your interruptions, in this case, positive interruptions, are what makes this program unique and special. Because like whatever you want to know, it's very likely what everyone else here wants to know. So I'm inviting all of you to raise that beautiful virtual hand that the PM on Zoom had an amazing work to build, and put a lot of effort into it. Just raise your hand, ask questions throughout the program, throughout the sessions. That's what makes it unique. So I'm inviting you to do that. You don't need to wait for specific times, or by the end of the session, you can literally stop me as I go, to go deeper, to go sideways, to ask specific questions on your own environments that you want to see answered. That's the goal. Of course, I usually have some discussion moments in between the sessions that will give you guys time to also ask more questions. And I try to push a bit that discussion. I think it makes the program more unique this way. So I think that's part number one. Actually, I'm starting already with the disclaimers. I like to give a few disclaimers as we start this session. First of all, I hope you went through our onboarding and kind of understood the reason behind this program. Probably going to report something new for the next year because like that's almost 2 years old. You can see I got older in the last 2 years, but you're all here. So a few disclaimers as we get started. So first of all, sessions being recorded, that's on purpose, all right? Because we like to have this recorded for you to see it again, or if for any reason you need to skip a session because you're busy or, I mean, stuff happens, right? And we don't want anyone to miss anything. So we always record the sessions. We'll share them on a YouTube unlisted channel that you can access it. So you'll have permanent access to the recording forever, as long as YouTube lives. And looking at Google's profits, I'm pretty sure it's going to live for a long, long time. So you'll have access to that. Okay, we'll always share it a day or two after our sessions. A person from my team, Beatrice, honestly, she takes a bit longer because she tries to make me look better than I look. But anyway, she does magic. So she's going to share it on the channel. You have access to it. So that's part number one. Part number two, I'll always share the slides I'm going to go through the program right after our session in Slack. So you'll have access to them right as we close each session. I generally end them on time. All right. Maybe class number one is probably today the one that takes a few extra minutes because of this disclaimer. I like to give some intros. Okay. Like we're getting to know each other. This is supposed to be a safe space, a cozy one. We're going to be together for my 12 hours in the next month. So it got to be fun. So I got to say this thing. So, I generally share the slides afterwards. I generally end them on time. Today is the only one I might steal 5 to 7 minutes extra. So past 8 if you're in the Lisbon-London time zone. If you're not, by the way, who's like not on the Lisbon-London time zone? Who's not at 6 p.m. right now? Raise your hand. Okay, plus ones. Who's in a +1 time zone? Anyone? Okay, we have some hands there. +2. Anyone on a +2? Oh, we have people. Italy airport. Italy airport probably has a different time zone than the entire Italy, right? That's why they lose so many bags. But I'm imagining something like that. So is anyone on a +3? I already had a +4 or 5 person. So she was ending the sessions at 1 a.m. That was commitment. Anyone on a +3? No one's on a +3? Okay. All right, that's not too bad. Like a +2 will end this by 10 p.m. That's not too bad. I hope you have dinner before the sessions. Otherwise, you're going to be growling throughout the program. So I hope not. All right, so cool. We have +2 people, +1, and people on our time zone. I didn't ask on minus. We might have people on minus. I already had a -5, which is great on these sessions because like 1 p.m. But it's not great on our lunch and learns because it's 12:45. So it's like 7 a.m., which kind of sucks to have a lunch and learn at 7 a.m. You want to be sleeping. Okay. So another thing, I speak fast. All right. What I'm saying right now, that's slow version. When I kick off classes, this is going to speed up. You'll see that is the only way I can put so much content in 12 hours. Like product's pretty wide. You're going to see that. And we want to go deep enough. Otherwise, it kind of sucks. You can read about that online, right? So I'm going to speed up. I've been trying to see those Obama videos where he does like those pauses. It works really well for him. I'm not there yet, especially teaching. But I think the good part about YouTube is you can like rewind and slow it down, even speed it up. Some people speed up my own sessions. That's awesome. I'd love to see my own session speed up. That's going to be a hard one. But so that's another one. What else? So I have 2 screens. This one here, I'm going to have my slides here. And then I have this one here. So whenever I start sharing, I'm going to put all of you, amazing faces, by the way, loving the diversity here. I'm going to put it all there on that screen. So every time I look there, that's the moment where you smile, because that's when I'm looking at you. Makes sense. So I don't feel as lonely. You can always use the emojis. Again, some really talented PM added emojis, reactions, because they can't be called emojis into Zoom. So feel free to use and abuse. You still don't pay for them until Elon Musk buys Zoom and makes you pay for everything. So do use them at will, right? That's why they're there. Feels like popcorn in my room. So that's a good thing you can use. What else? What else? We're going to have breakout room time. So I actually create breakout rooms. I'll mix and match all of you to have challenges across every single session. It's on purpose. You can see it like pro Tinder, professional Tinder, like you're going to meet new people and you're going to do product challenges. Who knows? So we're going to do that throughout the sessions. Always a challenge. And I think that's it. I don't think I might interrupt myself if I remember other some other things, but I think that's kind of it. Okay, any questions before we get started? Is everyone pumped? I hope you are. I wouldn't put there's the biggest one. Oh, I forgot. The reason I do this on Mondays, end of day, because you might be asking, why would you run this on the worst day of the week, Mondays? Well, I have a personal mission. My personal mission is to make people love Mondays, right? If I want to make people love Mondays and you have a program on Mondays, I got to make this amazing. If I don't make this program amazing, you're not going to enjoy the program. You're not going to be excited for the program on a Monday. I only have 4 Mondays to convince you of that. And my end goal, my end KPI with this is that on the first Monday, you do not have the program in 4 weeks or in 5 weeks. You feel a void, like something's missing in your life. It's this program. All right. That's kind of my bar. That's how high it has to be. And hopefully, throughout the program, you're excited to join, to come here to this space where exclusively just for you, and it makes your Mondays better. And we all know Mondays are very tiring. Everyone gets that Monday blue. It's usual, it's normal. So I'm going to fight that. And that's how pressure I put on myself. So hopefully you enjoy it. Of course, we're going to have our Thursday sessions with our speakers, guests, industry leaders that are joining us, giving their real world view of how to build products. Okay. This week, we're going to have an amazing PM. Actually, he's a product leader of Wise, TransferWise, so now named Wise, a big unicorn out of the UK, fintech. He's going to bring a lot of insight. So I kind of tell you who's going to be the speaker of each week on the sessions. This way you come to the sessions, you're first to know. Then, of course, I post on Slack, but I want to have you with me. Is that okay? Does that sound good? Good level of pumpiness. I don't know if that as a verb works, but we're excited.
Yep.
All right, we're excited. That's good. That's good. By the way, vertical nodding is positive. I've been loving to ask questions that bring vertical nodding into the mix. Okay.
Andre.
Yes, go for it.
Graham, I've got a question.
Go.
This is W3 product management. Is that right? Or is it, I know you do another session around AI. Is this focused
This is foundations.
Foundations.
Are you on the right one?
Yeah.
We have Web3 running today as well.
Okay. No, but I've just seen on your general
yes.
thing that you have.
Yeah, we're starting Web3 product management today as well, and AI tomorrow. So we have so many programs. Hopefully you get to join all of them. Like we have people have joined 6 of them. We now have 6 and they've done all of them and they're pretty happy. I'm pretty happy as well because they're enjoying this. So I hope you're in the right one, Graham.
Foundations is good for me. Yeah.
All right, cool. Then next month, you're going to do Web3. You're going to go straight from foundations to Web3. It's crazy. All right, cool. Glad to have you here. Okay. Let me get my slides up. Meanwhile, I'm generally really bad at managing the chat, but I'm going to have the chat on my other screen every time someone writes anything. I'm going to try to go to you, but if I miss it, if you want to raise your hand because you wrote something, do that, interrupt me. I've done this for now 2 years. I know exactly what I'm going to say, so it's fine. I'm not going to lose myself. Okay, tell me if you can see my slides. Should be a very large 1 month PM slide. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you on the emojis. People are already like going through my rules. That's amazing. That's how I like it. Okay. All right. Let's get this started. Okay. But before we get really started, I kind of got to prove to you why you should listen to me, right? So very quickly, what do I do? Why am I somewhat qualified to run this program? So I'm Andre. I work, or my 100% of my time is dedicated to Kitch, my startup. Kitch is a food tech company. We just sold it to Glovo 18 months after starting it. Well, 24 months after starting it, which was pretty cool. Glovo, big unicorn out of Spain, saw that we were doing some cool stuff and decided to acquire us. That's 100% of my time. What do I do on the other 50%? So I work at the VC called Shilling, where we invest in early stage startups, and I work with the portfolio companies, help them operate at the next level. I run this program, as you don't know, 1 month PM, where we build programs across product, help build the next million builders. And I also teach at the university. I use my students as guinea pigs so that this program becomes better. Don't tell the university I said that. Before this, I was at Google and Beauty Places, big startup out of Portugal, where I led growth, product, and got to make a lot of mistakes with a lot of millions that got me where I am today. So I've been working on products for a long, long time. And one of the things I love the most is bringing all the things I've been learning into frameworks, approaches, mental models, and most importantly, stories that hopefully help you guys and everyone else going through this program becoming better product thinkers. That's the goal. The purpose of this program is to help you think product more than learn how to manage products and manage features and whatnot. Is how do I think like a product person, which if you do it long enough, you'll see yourself becoming one. So this is what I'm going to be teaching. But of course, we got to start by defining what type of products we're going to be managing and building, right? Obviously, digital products, right? Marty Cagan, one of the people that influenced the content of this program, probably you've heard about him. He wrote books like Inspired and Empowered. He has the Silicon Valley Product Group. He says that products powered by technology are the type of products that we manage, okay? They have this technology layer, right? If you look at his book, Inspired, you have here two versions of how his book is delivered to you. On the left, you have a product that is not powered by technology. On the right, you have a product that is powered by technology. The type of products that we're going to learn how to manage and the type of frameworks we can be covering help you build the product on the right. Not much a product on the left. Eventually, I want to learn how to build a book, but it's not with this, I'm pretty sure. Now, we're not going to focus so much on the hardware side. We're probably going to focus more on the software side, but this is where we're going to focus. And why? Why does this matter? Well, because digital products, they have two characteristics. They're intertwined, they're connected. The first characteristic is that this technology layer augments how much a product can do, the amount of functionality it has. If you compare an iPhone, smartphone, any smartphone with an analog version, a version that has a different layer of technology, you can see that an iPhone can do a lot more stuff: emails, maps, weather, messages, etc., internet. Well, people say you might be able to call on your phone, but it's not clear anymore. This is this characteristic. There's this layer that augments functionalities. And then if you look at the second characteristic, if you look at the individual functionalities, those are actually products as well. So they're digital products as well, which means they inherit that first characteristic. It creates this compound effect because each product can do a lot more. Individually, they boost the features inside them. And it creates this exponential, this almost compound effect that is, in this case, about value, about distribution, and about speed of iteration, a bit like interest. Like you have simple interest and compound interest. With product and the technology that's associated with products, you have this compound effect of functionalities that are built on top of this platform, right? This is the reason why you see product scaling. This is the reason how and why you saw product like Zoom, for example, at the start of the pandemic. I don't know if you know the story about Zoom, but it took them 10 years, not joking, 10 years to get to 10 million customers, 10 million people or users using Zoom. And in the first 8 months of the pandemic, the first 8 weeks of the pandemic, from January to March, they added 200 million users to Zoom. So they did in 8 weeks, 20 times what took them 10 years. If it wasn't for the compound effect of functionality, of distribution, of scalability, you wouldn't be able to do what Zoom did. Now, not all products are equal. If you actually pick your phone, look at the first screen of your phone, you see a lot of different products, right? And some are similar, some are very different. The reason each product is either similar to one another or very different from one another has to do with the business model and the operational model. That is the single largest influencer of a product's characteristics, features, and user experience. If you actually look at different verticals, just a few, I'm not covering all of them. If you look at just a few, for example, e-commerce, you see products like Amazon, like Zalando, like OLX. These products, if you compare each one, they're very similar. They have this typical approach of searching through merchants, different items, a checkout, you pay, you get shipping, et cetera, et cetera. They're very similar. That's because their business model and operational model are similar. They all make money the same way. Some might have some differentiation like some premiums and some subscriptions and some services, but the core of the e-commerce there, it's very similar. Now, of course, if you compare that to marketplaces, Airbnb, Uber, Lime, very different. They're very different to e-commerce, but between them, they actually share the same dynamics. They have a supply and a demand. They work as a trust function, an intermediary that connects this supply and demand that doesn't know each other. They find a way to take a commission out of the value they're creating. They can be heterogeneous for homogeneous, heterogeneous in the Airbnb where every house is different, homogeneous as Uber where every car looks the same. And their goal is to make sure that these two parties can function, they can match each other. Again, different from e-commerce, but very similar within itself. If you look at social, very different, right? Very different from e-commerce, marketplace, and all others. But then if you compare Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, they're all very similar, like user-generated content, infinite scrolling, the typical casino-style addiction, infusing users to be there for as long as possible, normally advertising based, they follow the same metrics. So you see what I'm getting, right? The model itself, the business model, the vertical they sit in actually influences the most the typical experience and all the things that are connected to the product, the core things at least, more than anything else. If you look at SaaS products, very similar as well, a service, right? There's recurring revenue. Generally, you pay for a seat on a monthly or yearly basis. You have an agent version, you have an admin version, you have someone paying, someone using. So a lot of platform is built on top because you want to add more value, create that stickiness, that retention. So it's very similar between themselves, right? And then hardware, the same. I'm not going to go super deep into hardware, but you see what I'm getting, right? And why is this important? Well, because when you're building product, the first thing you should ask yourself is, where do we sit? Like, where does our product fit? Because the likelihood that some embedded dynamics will be core in your decision-making process is actually quite high. That is the reason. Make sense? Okay, cool. How's the pace? Is it okay? I'm making a big effort to go slow, but yeah, so okay, I got some thumbs up. I love the analog thumbs. It's like spitting on the face of the PM who built the virtual one, but that's fine. That's okay. As a PM, I'm very used to that. So, okay, cool. All right, but the most successful companies in the world rarely sit on top of one vertical. They've expanded. This is the beautiful part of product. Like, it's your ability to go beyond your first vertical. Look at Apple. You have an iPhone, hardware, software, the platform where you consume basically everything, the most successful product on earth on the consumer side. Then you have Apple Music, which is a sort of a consumer SaaS, right? You pay a subscription, you access it via the iPhone, maybe via the Mac. It connects you with music or sound producers, podcasts, whatnot. So different business model for Apple. And then App Store, marketplace, connecting app developers with users that have iPhones, Macs, and all the software and hardware that Apple sells. They take a commission on the sales. They work as a centralized operator that enables trust on the apps. You know that if you're downloading an app on the App Store, it feels pretty safe. That's actually one of the biggest value propositions of the App Store. So you can see Apple extended itself beyond their first vertical. Actually, their first vertical were computers, desktop computers. So they expanded beyond that, right? That's the beauty part. For multiple reasons. One, you're able to drive more revenue out of your users, oftentimes the same users. Two, you get more stickiness because the moment the user is attached and connected to a product, to multiple products, they're hard to leave your ecosystem as a whole. And three, the diversification of revenue streams are better for your business. The markets reward you as a business. That's why Apple's the most valuable tech company in the world. Actually, the reason they're the most valuable tech company in the world is not only they expand really well across multiple verticals with products, they connect them really well. That stickiness of you almost adding another product to suite, it multiplies the value you get from all the products you have together. So it makes a big difference. And this, guys, this is nirvana for a PM, nirvana for a CEO, for anyone building product. This is where you want to get, right? It's the Apple version of the world. Right? Hopefully, we're going to learn a few things that help you get there. That's my goal. Hopefully, bring the frameworks that help you understand how to do this. But the product isn't just what you see. Like we talked about the verticals. Maybe you looked at your phone and you saw you have maybe too many apps. But the product isn't just what you see. Even I'd argue to say that for a PM, it's not even the most important thing you see what you build. I'm going to put someone you probably know, but he's going to explain a concept that is really important for the next step of understanding who a PM is. Does it sound okay?
Really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean, what's your purpose?
All right, purpose. So People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. What you do simply proves what you believe. That was Simon Sinek, author of Start With Why. Probably you've seen him, maybe read some of his books, saw some of his videos, read some content on LinkedIn. He writes well, he writes a lot, but this part really matters. Why you do it, right? Purpose. Let's save that keyword purpose here for a bit. But before I want to play a game with you, and you can use the chat for this one. Okay, you can use the chat. So I want to ask you guys. So normally purpose is codified by a mission, a company mission or a product mission, right? That's how companies tell the world their purpose, the reason why they exist. So I'm going to read you 3 missions, and I'm going to ask each one if you know what company is behind that mission. All right, let's see if we get the majority of people discovering each one. So the first one is to give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. Any idea what company is behind this mission, this purpose? All right, we got Facebook, we got majority Facebook right now, Facebook kicking ass. Bernardo is going on the Kool-Aid and calling it Meta, maybe the only person on the world. Twitter, okay, we got Facebook kind of won this. Let's see if it's right. It is right. That's Facebook. And thank you, Bernardo, for being the only person who trusts the brand team of Facebook's work and calling them by their real name. Let's go to the second one. To give everyone, yeah, poor Zuck, I understand. I would love to have his wealth and be poor as well. Okay, to give everyone the power to create and share ideas and information instantly without barriers. Any idea which company is behind this mission? We got Twitter coming up, more Twitter. Don't know if Musk still believes that this is Twitter's mission. We got Medium there. Andre likes to be a bit of a contrarian. I like that. Let's see. And Twitter's mission, yes. This is Twitter's mission. At least it was before it was acquired. I don't know if it still is. I heard something about being the most accurate source of information in the world, but who knows? All right, let's go to the last one. Organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Okay, we got a lot of Google coming out. Wikipedia is going at it. Okay, we got a very close race. This is always what happens. So the company behind this is indeed Google. So Google, which won the majority, but Wikipedia was actually quite close. Okay, cool. So we actually got it. We actually got the majority of people actually figuring out the company behind this mission. Why does this matter? Why do I play this game with you? Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, if I did the reverse, if I ask you, tell me Facebook's mission, tell me Twitter's mission, tell me Google's mission, I doubt the majority of you would be able to tell me. Maybe a few keywords, maybe someone would tell it kind of right, close to it, but accurately or with such depth as you guys were able to do it, I doubt, right? That's because when companies are able to do their jobs right, when they're able to build successful products, what they're actually doing is infusing the company's purpose, the mission, within the product. They're making you experience their mission, their reason, their purpose by using the product. That's what differentiates the most successful products in the world from every single other product that you honestly don't know about. This is the job of successful product managers, is the ability of taking the purpose of a company and transforming it into a product, transforming it into a set of experiences that makes you fully live its mission. And by the way, it's funny that every time we run this exercise, Google and Wikipedia always come up kind of hand in hand, like a match, even match on the last one. And we're going to talk extensively about that, the fact that you can take multiple approaches as Google and Wikipedia took to fulfill a similar mission, right? We're going to save this for session number 2. We're going to go deeper into that, multiple ways of tackling the same problem, and as a consequence, fulfill the same mission, right? Cool. And why does this matter again? Because products that become the embodiment of missions are in autopilot. That is nirvana for a PM. A PM's job is to take a company's mission and put it into a product. That is the core definition. That's actually how I explain to my mother what I do. I turn missions into products. It makes me look cool as hell. She doesn't get it, but it's fine. At least I feel proud about that. PMs turn missions into product. That's also why it's really hard to be a successful PM. Because, well, imagine someone would come to you and say, oh, so we want to give people the power to share and make the world more open and connected. So build me the product. Really tough, right? It's not easy, but that's what you got to do. That's your job as a product builder, as a product thinker, right? So let's go into defining that product person, because bet some of you might have this question of like, okay, but who's the PM? What does the PM do? How does the PM sit in an organization? Well, I'm going to step back and tell you the one thing that matters, the only one thing that matters, the one thing that if you remember from today's session, hopefully you remember more than this, but it would be this. And it's probably a cliche by now, but it's really important that a product manager, the best PMs, they are not in love with their products, with their solutions, with their features. They actually don't care that much about that. What they care about, what they should be in love with, is the problem, the problems they're trying to solve, the definitions of the problems they're tackling. The solutions are just a way, a mean to an end. They're not the actual end itself. You do not exist to build a problem. You exist to solve the problem. A better name for a PM would be a problem manager, ideally, or a problem solver. We should all call ourselves PSs and not PMs. But anyway, this is the world we have. So if you remember, one thing is that loving the problem, understanding the problem, understanding when the problem is solved is the core function of a PM. Now, when you start trying to understand what a PM does and where a PM sits, you normally get what I call the dance of Venn diagrams. If you actually write on Google PM Venn diagrams, you're going to get a lot of them. There's a lot of different definitions of a product manager. The most typical one is the one on the left. You have this overlap of UX or design, product design, tech or engineering, and business or stakeholders or the company, or I don't know, they call it so many different things. And they tell you you're in the middle, but nobody tells you doing what. You're just there. You're probably shuffling paper from one side to the other. And it's kind of true. It's kind of right. Okay. But I actually like the Venn diagram on the right a bit better. The true Venn diagram that you sit is between your product and your customers or their problems, right? And the diagram, the overlap that you want to maximize is this one, this intersection, the intersection between product and your customer's problems and your product being the best version at solving them. And those blue, orange, and green circles there, again, as the product is just a way, a mean to an end, a way of building that intersection, of increasing how much they overlap. That's your true Venn diagram. You exist to align parties, to align everyone involved in building that product, to guarantee that the intersection grows over time, that you stick your customers with your solution, and that they stay with it, they retain, that they love it, that they're not going anywhere, and ideally that they pay you more over time to access the value that you're delivering. That is the true overlap, true Venn diagram that you should be chasing. Now, another Venn diagram, because if I say it's a dance of Venn diagram, I'd be failing in not bringing you a second Venn diagram, right? So there's two other circles that really matter for a PM to be successful. The one on the left, building the right product, well, that's the one we're going to be touching the most during this program, right? That's all about building the right thing for your customers, for your users. It's a combination of tackling the right opportunities in the market and for your customers, choosing correctly, prioritizing the right way, researching across uses, across analytics, and really owning the solution and bringing it to the market. That's what makes you build the right product. Now, if you only do this, you're going to be what I call a one-hit wonder. You built one great product, but you never did it again. The reason is you're not doing the right circle, building the product the right way. Right? Building the product the right way is all about the process. It's all about the partnership between engineering, design, architecture, the whole technology, the process of testing, is everyone involved in the process of building the right problem. That's what keeps you shipping right product after right product after right product. Now, of course, if you only do the one on the right, which for me personally is the biggest problem across multiple software house and consulting companies, is that you have a lot of people excited with what they're building, but they're not building anything that anyone wants, right? You can't just focus on the process of building. You also need to focus on building the right thing. Of course, successful PMs, they do both. They're able to build the right product and they build it the right way. And hopefully, I'm going to touch on process extensively as well. And I'm going to give you the frameworks to cover both. All right, that's the goal of this program. And by the way, this program also focuses on scratching the surface across multiple topics, going very T-shaped across the product cycle, right? And fostering some curiosity about going deeper into some topics. Of course, if there's any specific topic that we talk across our sessions, remember we only have 4 actual lecture sessions of 8 hours. If there's anything that you'd like me to go deeper, what I'll probably do is I'll revert to Slack and send you a couple extra articles and posts and stuff that I find relevant to learn myself and pass you there. All right. But that's the goal. T-shaped is the approach for our foundation program. Does that make sense? Cool. I'll ask questions in between to see if I still have your attention, which is good. I see enough nodding to keep you with me. That's good. That's good. All right. So this is the moment my mom comes back and says, hey, so I know you turn missions into products, but what does that mean? Right? I got to go deeper. So this is how I go deeper on the true definition of the role of a PM. So the role of a PM is to help their team and the company to ship the right product to their users. That's it. That's how I define the role of the PM. Let's dissect this and look at each section, these 4 sections, and what they mean and how they connect to your role as a product manager. Number 1, help your team. So helping your team is about coordination. It's about planning, around making some decisions, connecting those decisions with a plan, communication, context, why is something happening, why does something matter, why we're doing that now and not later. All of this is what helps your team being able to build what really matters to your users. The second part is helping your company. Now, I usually say that a product is a vehicle of value. A product is the way that a company that is circling a product or that sees the product as a way to deliver value to their customers is the way that the company gets to customers and say, look, this is what I'm offering you in exchange for something, some type of value. Money, can be time, can be attention, can be reputation, whatever the company finds valuable. Product is how they deliver to it in exchange of something else. So your role is to help your company achieve its own goals, because if the product is a vehicle of value that belongs to the company is the entity that funds the product to exist, funds the team, funds the development, funds everything that allows you to continue evolving the product. So of course, helping your company is articulating a strategy and an execution that helps the product achieve the company's goals. Number 3, ship the right product. Now, this is the hardest one because here you have actually 2 different forces. You have shipping the product, which is putting a product in customers' hands. And then you have the right product, and the right product pushes you to polish, pushes you to improve, add just something, just this, let's add just this little bit. And that kind of makes you not ship. So you add a few other things. So shipping the right product is this counterforce that makes you really care for bringing the product out, ideally in the best shape possible. I usually say, if you only focus on the right product and not on shipping, you'll see your competitors getting to your customers before you, and that's really hard, and it sucks because then turning those customers into your customers is much harder than being first. And the last one, to your users, is generally the analogy I use is the union leader, right? Every country has unions. And every union has its leader, normally is the spokesperson, the person who shows up on TV, and they're defending their union members. They're trying to get the best working conditions for them. They're fighting for them, fighting against the evil empires. Well, here in product, you are the union leader of your users. You are the person who should be advocating for them internally in the company and preventing the company from making decisions that go against the users. Why? Because users vote with their wallets. They choose another product, they choose another competitor, they choose another solution, an alternative, the moment the company starts making decisions that go against what they want or need. That's it. All right. This is how I define the role of a PM. A PM helps their team and their company to ship the right product to their users. Makes sense? Is it clear? Right, cool. So we have some definitions so far. If we're going in the right pace. And of course, I had to close it with a third Venn diagram because come on, I gotta, like, if I say there's a dance, you don't dance with 2, you dance with 3. So here we go. Another job, a big job of the PM is to be an expectation manager. Like, I'd say that maybe 90% of my time is managing someone else's expectations. And keep in mind that if you remember the first Venn diagram, you're going to be dealing with designers and UX. You're going to be dealing with business stakeholders. You're going to be dealing with engineers. You're going to be dealing with a lot of different type of people. And your role is to actually get them working together. And that's really hard because they're all very different. You're going to be dealing with designers that want to build the most amazing UIs, the most amazing experiences, the way they envision the world to be. And you got to go to them and say, look, this is great, but we got to ship, we got to build, we got to make it in a way that engineers can build it. We can't do that. You're going to have to deal with engineers who want to build it the right way, super polished, with the latest stack and framework. And you're going to get to go to them and say, look, great, but we don't have the team. We don't have time. This is super complex. We got to ship. Okay. And you have to deal with executives that want everything for yesterday and they want the entire scope and they want to give you less team. You got to say, look, with this, I can't build it faster. I can't build it for yesterday. I got to build it right. We kind of can't do it. So you're going to be saying no and managing people's expectations for a long time. So yeah, it isn't easy, I'm going to tell you, but if you do it right, you're going to be super successful because generally happiness is the difference between reality and expectations. So if your expectations are here and your reality is here, you're going to have super mad people. They're going to be angry at you. The reverse, they're going to be super happy. So there's nothing like under promising and then boom, over delivering. That's a big part of the PM's role. Now you're going to have to wear a lot of different hats. I love John Cutler's approach definition of hats that are worn by product managers, engineering managers, designers, developers. He has a great Medium post. And this just shows how complex and different the role of a PM is on the day-to-day. Because I can tell you, you're probably going to have to wear many of these hats on a single day, for sure in a single week, but sometimes in a single day. That takes a lot of context switching. It requires you to be mentally and psychologically pretty strong to deal with this. We're talking about being a researcher, someone who's trying to discover insights, synthesizing and thinking like a system. You're going to have to wear the strategist hat, where you're going to have to think really broad, really far away and connect this to a vision. You're going to have to focus on opportunities and creating goals and creating business cases. Sometimes you're going to have to actually define stuff, specify stuff with teams, and you got to context switch between the different types of teams. Sometimes you got to be a coach, a teacher, a mentor. And of course, sometimes you got to have to do the project management role, which is very different from all others. So you can see all the different hats you got to wear are going to make a big difference on your ability to succeed. Of course, the good part, and I usually say that misery loves company, is that all your peers, your engineering leaders, your designers, your developers, they all have to wear different hats as well. So you're not alone in this, but you're very likely the one wearing the most hats, or at least alongside your engineering lead. So what do you have to know to really be successful as a PM? What is the one thing that you got to know? Well, number one, you got to know the mission, the purpose. We talked about this, right? It's the why behind your product, the why behind the decisions. It's what makes people wake up and go to a company because they believe that purpose. So you are a voice of the mission, of the why. The second thing is the vision. That's the future. That's the what. What are we building? How do we believe that the world will change if we fulfill our mission? That's the vision. Number three is a strategy. How do we get there? How do we fulfill our mission and achieve that world vision, the future? That is the how, that's the strategy. We're going to talk extensively about strategy and vision in session number 3. Number 4 is segmentation. That is the who. Who do you decide that you're adding value? Who do you want choosing your product over everyone else? We're going to be tackling segmentation today on the second half of today's session, as well as session 2 next week. Number 5, it's position. How do you fit and sit within your customer's mind? How do you want them to think about your product and even your vision and mission? Who are you to your customer? And number 6 is your when, the roadmap. How do you execute your strategy? When is anything happening? When is each single thing supposed to be built and shipped to your customers? And what's my expectation of achieving that vision, right? That's your roadmap. That's your plan. We're going to be talking about roadmaps on session 3 as well. All right. So you see, I'm going to be bringing frameworks and templates and approaches to master each one of these 6 things. Up until session 4, we're going to be talking about measuring whether you're making the right decisions to fill up these and launching products. That's the agenda for the last session. All right. That's the goal. Cool. So far, cool. Okay. Still happy. I mean, it's always challenging. The first one, the bar is here, so I got to be pumped. By the way, this energy, this is going to happen every single session. Don't doubt. This is going to happen every single Monday. All right. So I put the bar on energy. If I ever fail, it's either because I'm sick or something happened, and that rarely happens. So hopefully this is my promise to you. Now, what about the product team, right? Because you'll join a company eventually has a product team if you're a product manager, and you're not going to be alone unless you build your own company or join a very early stage startup. You're probably going to join a product team. How are product teams organized? What are you going to be working with? Now, there's multiple models, but there are 3 models that are very common across companies in multiple stages. The first one is the feature ownership approach. Feature ownership means that a single team owns the functionality. Sometimes entire products are features. That's how they start, right? The example I usually give is the Facebook On This Day feature, where a single team owns everything about the On This Day. So that feature allows you to see everything you posted on a specific day, multiple years in the past. Every time something changed on the platform, this single team had to adapt. Every time this feature evolved, it was the same team. And this is very common across other typical features that start as before becoming full-fledged products. I mean, Instagram stories is another example that started this way. The Discover Weekly from Spotify is another example that started this way. There's complete ownership. This is actually the most common version of product teams. The second version, as a company grows, generally starts transforming into verticals. Right. So vertical can be a business line, a business function, can be a set of products that are within a cluster. The example I usually bring are the voice products of Amazon, which is a vertical voice. Here you have products like the Echo hardware, you have products like the Alexa software, you have products like the Marketplace Skills app, that is integrated across all products. So you can see a team that owns the voice vertical is in charge of executing and delivering all the experiences that deliver the voice experience to the customer. Okay. You have other examples like Airbnb has the experiences vertical, the home booking vertical, maybe OLX, the marketplace, has the motors vertical, real estate vertical. So marketplaces generally have multiple verticals, so it works this way. And then finally, you have the customer ownership product design. Customer ownership is when a company organizes their product teams based on customers they're serving. So the example I use is Uber, and I'm going to be using Uber extensively throughout the next 4 weeks. So Uber has a team that's dedicated to driver products, meaning that they look at drivers and think, what are all the problems that these customers, drivers have, and how can I build experiences that deliver for drivers? They also have the riders, as you can already imagine, the riders experience, where they think about everyone, ourselves, if we're riders, what are our problems and how do I deliver an experience for riders? Now, my personal favorite is customer ownership, because you can imagine that being closer and closer to customers allows you to understand them better, allows you to adjust how you create value for them, makes them choose more your product over others because you know them better than any other product team. Now, of course, you might see hybrids of this. You're probably going to see vertical ownership teams that then have sub-feature ownership teams. And even within the vertical, you might have different customer ownerships. You might have the developer of Alexa skills as a customer and the user of a voice echo as another customer. So normally companies then mix and match these different verticals, but at least you understand how they fit. Now, João is asking thoughts on product team structure for early stage startups. No, normally early stage, and as a true PM, I got to answer, it depends. Every PM, like that's a cliche. Every PM starts with it depends, because everything depends in the world. This one actually depends on how and what are the set of products in an early stage. Normally, early stage go for product ownership or feature ownership. They're the same because normally you only have one product and then the entire team owns that entire product. As you grow, maybe the product gets complex, maybe you can split it into customer ownership, especially if the customers are very, very clear. For example, marketplaces are very common to split with customers early on because they have a demand customer and a supply customer. SaaS businesses often also split in customers because they have an agent or user and they have a decider or an admin. They're very different types of customers, so it's very typical as well. So it depends a lot on what type of early stage. Did I answer your question, Joel?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks for asking. All right. Now, I'm going to go to I think it's the last slide before we do a small discussion, which is, all right, what about all the other names, right? You roam around the internet and you see titles like product owner, PO, or product manager, or program manager, or project manager. You can even add a few other like technical product manager and whatnot. Like there's hundreds of them. I picked these three. I'm going to focus on these three. Like what are the differences, right? Before I go into the definitions, I want to say there's an overarching theme that really defines why they exist, and that's called culture. Every company has an approach to products influenced by the company's culture, right? Whether it's a management culture, whether it's a grassroots culture, whether it's a very hands-off, a very almost anarchist approach at designing an org culture. There's multiple approaches, but the culture really defines how companies think about this. Now, I'm going to give you the common denominator, or the thing that generally is connected to how and the roles of different titles. So I define this between ownership, what these people use for planning, and what the focus or what success looks like for each type of person within the role. So a product manager, in terms of ownership, focuses on the overarching product. Normally, a product owner has a subset of this product, the feature, normally. A program manager focuses on an entire service that might include product managers, might include product owners, might include project managers, might include stakeholders. It focuses on managing an operation, a program. And the project manager generally has a project, as per the name. In terms of tools to plan their work, normally a product manager focuses on the roadmap, this plan. We're going to talk later about roadmaps, while a product owner focuses more on the backlog of their features and what needs to be added to guarantee the features come to production. A program manager, a bit like the project manager, they focus on a plan, whether it's a release plan or a project plan. Normally it uses this Gantt chart because they want to focus on this critical path that allows them to deliver, whether it's the service or the project, in the least amount of time with the lowest amount of waste. That's their tools. And finally, in terms of focus, what success looks like for a product manager, generally it's PMF, product market fit. We're going to talk about PMF later today. For a product owner, is more about requirement definition, guaranteeing the backlog is grouped, prepared, and that the features are understood by the team so that they're delivered. A program manager is focused on how efficient a certain pipeline looks like and is delivered throughout the program, while a project manager focuses more on the coordination of everyone involved in a project to guarantee that the critical path is actually followed. So as you can see, different definitions. Now, of course, there are problems with this. And I love Melissa Perry's quote that PO, and I'm going to focus more now on the PO versus PM, because this is typically where there's discussion, right? I love how Melissa from the Escaping the Build Trap book, she says product owner or PO is a role you play in Scrum, PM is the job, right? And you can see from this table how a PO is kind of a subset of a PM, right? Like a PM does the entire thing. PO is a bit of the things that a PM has to do. Now, this is true. Now, of course, a lot of companies, they use PO and PM as more of a hierarchical approach, like you start as a PO and then you grow into a PM. A lot of other companies focuses the PM more on strategy and customer and then focus the PO more on the team and the execution. I mean, there's no one specific way of doing it. I have my own philosophy. My own philosophy is that I don't have POs, I only have PMs, because I believe POs are siloed from things that are very important for them, siloed from strategy, siloed from customers, siloed from stakeholders, which are core to understand whether the features make sense or not. They sometimes work more as paper shufflers from PMs, and I don't like that. I rather have more junior PMs who own a subset of the entire product, but then they own end-to-end, and more senior PMs who own more of the product, always end-to-end. So that's my approach. But as I said, this is truth, this is in the end of the day connected with how a company looks at the roles, how they design their cultures. Oftentimes management gets to decide who does what and who's called what. So that's why there's a lot of discussion online. Ezekiel has a question. Is it normal to have the same person for these roles or 2 or 3 simultaneously? I think it depends a lot on budgets, right? Larger companies might staff these roles with multiple people if they have the budgets, or maybe if a certain product has the profitability or the cash flow to justify that budget. Smaller companies, smaller startup might only have 1 person or a limited amount of people to do this. Smaller companies often merge all of these roles in a single person because they don't have anyone else, and they kind of have to do both the PM side, the PO job. They have to run programs, they have to project manage things to come into production. So it's very common on early stage. Sometimes small companies have this on top of founders, and even the CEO gets to do all of this. I mean, it depends a lot. Of course, you also see the opposite, which is when you have too much money, you have too many people with too many roles and titles, and it creates a lot of friction into actually getting people working together. That also happens on large companies. Ezekiel, did I answer your question? Okay, no feedback is good feedback. All right, I'm gonna go with that. Cool. Any more questions? Actually, I'm gonna bring this next slide, which is, what are you not sure if it should be a PM doing? And I'm gonna give it a broader question, which is, what are you not sure yet after everything I told you in the last couple of minutes? Any questions? Anything that isn't clear on the roll? Yeah, go for it. I'm hearing some sound. No? All good so far? All right.
Hello, Andre. Hi.
Yeah, someone has a question?
Yeah, I have a question. We're just seeing that a PM on a previous slide that you had, that the project manager's focus was on coordination, and the PM's role is on product market fit. But I felt like at the beginning of the session, you were saying that we have to put a lot of hats, meaning some coordination. And we have to bring together all the teams so that everyone is aligned with the product mission and that we are actually solving a problem. So to what degree is really a project manager just responsible for coordination and the PM just responsible for product market fit? Isn't the PM's role also to sit in the middle and coordinate all of these people into bringing together a good product?
So that's a good question. The way I see it is, what is success for a PM? Success for a PM is problem solved, right? That's it, solving the problem. The way you solve a problem is by coordinating everything that is required to make the problem solved. If that involves managing a project to make it happen, then it's your job to manage it. If it doesn't, then you shouldn't do it. If it's about listening to customers, if it's about understanding what PMF looks like or measuring it, if it's about being close to the team and understanding the backlog and the features, if it's designing a roadmap that makes sense, whatever is between today and problem solved, that's your job and your role. Now, if you are in a company that has project managers, that has program managers, has anyone to do parts of this role, maybe you as a PM don't need to do it. But if you are in a company where that doesn't exist, then yeah, it's going to be your role. It's going to be a hat that you'll need to wear. That's basically it. And even if you are in a company that has these roles, you might happen to have to build something where this person isn't available to help. So you'll actually have to wear the hat anyway. So I try to step a bit back and say, what is between today and me and the problem solved? I got to do it. A PM is going to be always the person who fills up the gaps. Does that make sense, Martin? Cool. Awesome. Thanks for the question. Great. So we have a hand up from Andre. Great name, by the way. Go for it.
Thank you. I've been seeing or reading some discussions recently on LinkedIn. I don't know if they are recent, but I've been noticing them recently about research. Yeah. Some people are saying that PMs shouldn't do research because it's a job for researchers, the same way that coders code. Mm-hmm. I'd like to hear about your opinion on that.
So my opinion is that that person is absolutely wrong. And I'm going to explain why. First of all, I am very much against the idea that people should be siloed to their hard skills, right? I think the most valuable asset everyone has is a brain. And that brain goes beyond their hard skills. That brain allows you to think, to understand what could be the solution, to bring ideas into the table, to contribute with different points of view, diversity. And I think siloing people to whatever they know how to do that maybe nobody else knows is very limitative of the true potential of the team. So whether you have a researcher or not, everyone should be in charge and responsible to researching. And researching is as simple as asking questions to get answers. That's it. So, of course, if you have a researcher, that person could potentially take the load of the work, be responsible bringing more and better questions into the table and gathering more answers. But saying that someone shouldn't do research just because this person exists, I mean, it goes a bit again on the answer to Martin, is if you see yourself in a situation where you do not have that researcher available for you, and if you don't do research, then how do you know what to build? You'll have to wear the hat. So, and even if you do have a researcher, I do recommend that everyone contributes from a research and discovery point of view, because again, diversity from your point of view really matters for the end solution. We want to be effective at building something that matters and not just be efficient because someone exists in a certain role. So that's my point of view. Does that make sense, Andre? Though I know that there's a lot of management that you kind of need to bring into the dark side. I call this the dark side because people normally like to be on the dark side. I don't know if we invented that. So bringing them into the dark side where everyone can actually contribute beyond their hard skill is unfortunately a fight worth fighting, but a fight that you have to fight. Cool. Tiago, you have your hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, just a quick one, Andre, thanks.
Yeah.
How much involved is the PM on the, let's say, on the economics of the product itself? You see my point?
Yeah,
like I said it should be, you know, articulated with the company strategy overall.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I usually connect this to the second part of what's the PM role, right? It's helping a company achieve their goals. If a company exists to fund a product, and if the product is a vehicle of value, then ideally you should be making decisions that influence the business into generating more value. That means, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, that means creating more value gap into a customer. A gap is when the value you give them is larger than the price they're paying, meaning that they see the net benefits of using your product, right? If you do not know the economics of your product, it's going to be very hard for you to make the equation of how much should I add, how much resources, how much it costs to build something versus how much I can take and should take from the customers using my product. If you don't understand the economics there, it's going to be very hard to make proper balanced decisions. Now, of course, there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum where you are indeed empowered to manage a P&L, a profit and loss, where you almost act like the CEO, the typical CEO of the product, which I hate as a definition for a PM. But you do act as the CEO, meaning you own the true business. That's I call it the right side of the spectrum. And you have a left side of the spectrum where you don't actually manage a P&L and where understanding the economic decisions just make sure that you're making good decisions for the end P&L, who's probably managed by a product leader or worst case scenario by the CEO. So my quick answer is yes, you should definitely know and ideally own the economics behind your decisions as a PM. Awesome, Tiago. Thanks for the question. João, have your hand up. Go for it.
Do you think product managers should write PRDs, or is that a job for the engineers themselves to write their user stories? For example, at Google, PMs don't write user stories anymore.
Yeah, so it's I'm not going to say it's $1 million question, but I bet if people would crack this, it would be worth way more than $1 million. So should PMs write PRDs? And I know there's different definitions for this. It can be PRD. PRD stands for product requirement doc or document, stories, epics, anything. Should they write stuff? So again, of course, I think I'm going to repeat myself. It depends, right? It depends on the culture. It depends on how management sees the role of PMs. It depends on a lot of things. I'm gonna give a bit of the same answer as if your success is problem solved, and if problem solved means shipping stuff, and if writing stuff is what makes shipping happen, then yeah, you should write whatever you need to write. You're focusing success. Success means bringing to market a product that works. If your engineering team needs your help writing stuff, whether it's a PRD, a story, an epic, a document, whatever you want to do it, if you need to do that, then yeah, you should do it. Otherwise, they're going to be ineffective at shipping. Of course, then there's like vision, like where should you sit? What should you do? How do you believe teams should act? I have my own philosophy, happy to share. I believe that PMs should definitely write initiative documents or epics, depends how you call it, which is basically a way of providing context, why something matters, what the future looks like, what is a magical experience for the person being impacted by that, what's the problem you're trying to solve, how we're going to measure success. Like those things, I think they should definitely be written by a product manager. Like, I'm not talking about the scope of a solution or how something is built. That I do believe should be built by the design team, the engineering team, the data team that will actually be creating the way you solve the problem. But writing the context is core for everyone to be aligned, synchronized, for everyone to be able to use that as a basis for them to execute their job. Now, if this then is broken down by stories, by engineers, by designers, by developers, by whoever, I mean, I think it depends a lot on teams, a lot on the maturity of the people involved, seniority as well. It depends a lot, but I really like empowered teams, honestly.
How do you personally do it?
How do I personally do it? A bit like I mentioned. So my PMs focus a lot on the high-level epics, meaning providing context, providing the problem setting and the problem space. We're going to talk about problem space this week and next week. Providing a lot of the research questions like what is still unknown, what is known, providing success measurement, how do we know we're going in the right direction, connection to OKRs, like how do we believe this is going to move the company's needle and add value? And they focus solely on that. And then they are close to engineers who engineers and designers who transform that into actual execution, prototypes, UIs, technical stories, architecture, and they're there to support the decision-making process that often starts on design and engineering. They're there to unblock on the decision-making and guaranteeing that then there's a proper plan and path of execution to ship it. That's how my teams do it. And I know there's a lot of like philosophies around, oh, should PMs use Jira? Should PMs use tool A, B, or C? Again, I'm not a purist. I tell people, look, whatever helps you be successful at shipping something that solves the problem, you do you. Just make sure that you balance time to talk with customers, talk with stakeholders, measure success, push the quality of what your team is building, make them be more product thinkers and ask why, etc. Then whatever you use, I mean, why create barriers?
Cool. Can I have a follow-up question?
Yeah, of course.
So how do you avoid becoming a task monkey when decisions come directly from someone on the leadership team that comes towards the CEO?
Okay. So how to deal with the mix of opinionated leaders / top-down, right? I think it's never easy, I'm going to say, and it's more common than it should, right? It's not actually the exception, is sometimes more the rule. I think like this would give a very long answer, and I might follow up extensively over Slack because I don't want to lose too much time. But I would say it starts with empathy, with understanding why these people have to do this. Why are they top down? Why do they give their opinions? Why are they prescribing solutions? Is it because of lack of visibility, lack of trust? Is it because they are not empowering the product team? I think part of it is this. Number two, it's about proving that you can do that the other way, proving that you can do on an empowered approach. Sometimes that proof needs to come from a bubble, a controlled environment, like a single team doing it one way to prove that it works better than the other. And number three, it's all about influencing the person doing that, whether it's a CEO or the product leader, influencing towards a better approach. That is a lot about communication and creating rapport. I think that is how you should tackle it. The final version, if nothing of that works, get them to speak with me and I'll help them see the light. I'd say that's my final answer. That's more expensive, honestly.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome. These were great questions. Some of them were the first time I got them on this slide. So As usual, I'm going to do a 5-minute break. I always do a 5-minute break so people can get some water. Honestly, the break is often for me more than for you, but I'm going to do a 5-minute break. So you don't need to leave the call. You can just stay here, disconnect the media, stretch a bit so you get your blood flowing. And we'll be back at 7:12 if you're in the Lisbon time zone, or 12 depending on your time zone. Okay, 5 minutes. We'll be back for the second half of today's session. Is that okay? All right, cool. See you in 5 minutes. All right, we're back to the second half for the second half of today's session. This is my biggest hurdle, is guaranteeing I get everyone back. Hopefully, pace is okay so far. Energy is good. All right, cool. Because now we're going to go into our first frameworks. All right, because until now, we've kind of talked about what type of products we're going to be talking about. We defined the role of a PM within an organization. I hope it's clear now. I loved all the questions we have. I think that's what makes the program unique. So thank you very much for engaging. Because now we need to know how we decide what to build. That's kind of our goal, right? As a PM, we're decision makers, right? We help people arrive to enlightenment. That's the second part of how I love this role, of helping people be enlightened. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to be talking about 3 pillars of decision making. First one is understanding value. We're then going to talk about understanding risk. And the third one is understanding customers or users. All right, but we'll start with value, and we're going to run one framework per area. Okay, because I don't like to go super deep into specific areas. I generally run just one framework. It's often more than enough. So understanding value, per definition, something that someone believes it's useful or worth holding because it's going to be creating more value over time, right? That's value. So how do we do this? Well, I generally use actually a quite ancient business framework called the new value curve, but super useful when thinking about product. The new value curve focuses on 4 forces. The first 2 forces are raising and creating. And what we focus on are the factors that an industry is competing on. So we ask the question, which factors that an industry competes should be raised above the current standard, the current level, current average that all the companies that currently compete at in that industry are not raising, and that should be raised. The other one is creating, which is which factors that actually exist, and they've never been offered, that should be created for use. When we use and work on these forces, we create value. But creating value is not enough to create a new disrupting curve. We also need to reduce cost, and reducing cost comes from reducing the factors that are above the level they should be offered within the industry. That's the reduce force, and eliminate, which factors is the industry offering that should be eliminated, that shouldn't exist at all. When you're able to eliminate and reduce factors, you're able to reduce the cost of providing a service to your customer. When you do both at the same time, you're able to create a new value curve. Now, why does this matter? Well, this matters because that force of bringing down costs and increasing value creates a gap, also called a value gap. And the value gap is what allows you to do 2 things. Number 1, allows you to protect your existing customers from jumping to your competitors, also called a moat. It keeps them looking at your product and thinking, this is still the best value for cost that I see in the market, so I'm not going to switch. You retain them. And it also allows you to knock on your competitors' doors, offer your value for cost, and tell them, look, I'm much better than the current solution you're using. That's the value gap. Why? Because you're able to eliminate and reduce standards that should be eliminated and reduced, therefore eliminating costs or reducing costs. And you're able to increase the value by creating and raising standards in the industry. That's the goal. Actually, the biggest PM job there is to increase this value gap. Just design and execute on a strategy that increases the value gap. Now let's look at an example on how Uber does this. How Uber increase this value gap versus the taxi industry, becoming the monster company you see today. Well, how did Uber reduce costs? And costs is in air quotes because it's not just the financial cost of using the product. Well, 1, they did deliver cheaper rides because they use technology to optimize supply, creating actually more rides for drivers, making each ride cheaper for the end user. But they also reduced the waiting time for a ride. Instead of you having to wait or find a car, you just press a button. And because of that optimization of supply, you actually got cars faster than you would at finding taxis. Finally, they also reduced the number of unpredictable experiences, whether because their onboarding process for drivers was better, whether because they controlled via technology those rides, whatever they did allowed to reduce unpredictable experiences. So how is Uber creating more value? Well, they created this branded wealthy person, call a black car type of feeling, which you didn't have on the previous experience. They also created this mobile booking platform where you could actually press a button and get a car anywhere. I don't know if you remember the taxi dispatching, where you have to call the central and they would connect you to someone else. Really ancient version compared to the simple app version of press a button, get a car. And forecast. The ETA, the wait and arrival times. So they created this experience, which you wouldn't have in the old taxi version of it. How is Uber raising value? Well, they raised the security, the comfort of riding a car, especially in multiple countries where people felt it was dangerous to hop on a stranger car, maybe at night, maybe for women, for example, etc. So Uber increased the experience here. They also raised the number of high quality cars and also the standard of the drivers, making the experience of going from A to B in a car much better. How is Uber eliminating costs? Well, they eliminated scams. I don't know if anyone here was ever scammed, especially when you went abroad in a taxi, maybe going on a longer route than you needed. Maybe they defined a price without transparency. Uber eliminated that from the experience because now you know you're paying via GPS, you see the path and the route, you can actually compare it to Google Maps. The driver actually gets Google Maps or Waze, depending on the country might be another solution. So they eliminated that experience. Searching for a car across town, you no longer need to know where the taxi square is, you just press a button, the car comes to you. So they eliminated that cost. And for me, the best part of Uber, or the best part of any ride sharing, the money exchange. Because they made you actually be able to get out of the car and not think about that. It just gets paid instantly, automatically, or how the people generally say automagically. It just works. It's beautiful. So they eliminated having to deal with money and do I have to change? Do I have enough? How much is it going to cost? No, it just takes care by itself. So as you can see, by looking at what customers feel like they want the standards to change, Uber was able to create a value proposition that just disrupted the current leaders of the, in this case, the taxis, the current leaders of the market of taking people A to B on someone else's car, and created a much better and, of course, as a consequence, a much more wealthier version for the company that customers really flocked and really like. Is this clear in terms of the disruption and the four forces? Cool. All right. So understanding value is understanding how you can change and disrupt an industry. Now, of course, that isn't enough, right? You need to also understand the risks, especially as you're thinking about a new feature, a new product, a new experience for a market, because it isn't all roses, right? Product is hard. Product is hard because at the end of the day, there's always uncertainty. And risk is about understanding the level of uncertainty and how people will react to uncertainty in situations. Now, how do I, with my team, deal with risk? What's the exercise? What's the framework we use? Well, we use something called the 5 pillar risks. The 5 risks are the 5 levels of risk. I'm going to go one by one and explain with a few examples how these companies actually failed at executing against the risks, and then were actually covered by some of these risks. So the first one is desirability. Desirability asks the question, what does a customer value, and what does a customer what can't the customer lose if they switch solutions, right? That's desire, right? The example I give is the Pebble Watch. So the Pebble Watch was actually the first smartwatch. Anyone had a Pebble Watch? I had a Pebble Watch. I'm generally the only one. I feel very alone. Like, this is me being like the VR guy of the old times. Okay, I was the only one. So the Pebble Watch was the first smartwatch. It connected to your phone, got notifications, allow you to send messages. It was actually pretty cool. And they rode the wave. They were the first ones introducing at scale some level of smartness. What they couldn't actually see is that the first believers of wearables were people in the fitness industry, or people that were already using some type of fitness wearable, and they wanted to bring that level of fitness data into their wrists. And they weren't even close to the fitness part. They're focusing much more on notifications and pairing with your phone and giving you a bit of an on the go without a lot of focus on the fitness side. So they lost the way into what the customer was valuing from those who were early into the wearables. Of course, then you saw Apple Watch coming in, and a lot of the Apple Watch positioning was for athletes. You still see that today because they understood what customers desire in their use of a wearable technology. The second pillar is usability. So usability asks the question, how is a user used to using a product to solve for a certain need or a certain problem? Right. And also, what is too much of a learning curve that will actually get them off a product? Now, the example I use on a product that is very likely failing on addressing usability risks is a VR. So who here has a VR headset? It's okay. You can be honest. It's a safe space. I won't tell anyone you have one of these. Okay. So we have Zico there. Thank you very much for being very honest. Miguel also raising his hand. And that's about it. And then there's another person or two who are just too shy to say. That's okay. We're going to go with Miguel and Ezekiel. So either of you actually bought it, or was it a gift?
A gift.
I bought it.
So one was a gift and the other one bought it. Okay. So at least one was not forced to buy it. Second question. How often do you use it on a weekly basis? Can you be very frank? How often?
Never.
Both never?
I bought it for a very specific reason.
And
because I have a sim racing rig.
Okay.
So I use it for racing online.
Okay, you do that every week?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, several times a week. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. That's the first person I have on my program who actually has a weekly retention on their VR.
But I have only used it seated on the rig.
Oh,
I don't walk around.
Oh, I hope Mark Zuckerberg would be a very happy person to meet you. You'd be at least one person who believes him. So,
yeah, as well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Ezekiel is more on the typical customer or user of VR. And even you, if you'd say, I only use it for the rig, you're kind of getting to my point, which is if VR believes they can be the next platform of entertainment, of anything, right now, it's really not there. Majority of people like Ezekiel just use it maybe in the beginning when they bought it or someone offered it, use it a couple of times, or maybe use it with a couple of friends for the first like kick, look how amazing this is. And then they go back into their typical entertainment thing, whether it's Netflix, reading a book, spending time with friends, because I mean, that's how we're used to entertaining ourselves, not with glasses on our face and looking into a situation. Miguel here maybe has a setup that is optimized by the rig and racing, and that makes sense, but we're still a few usability experiences away from really having mass market. There are usability risks we need to understand. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rule. I think a very famous exception of rethinking the user experience and bringing to market and actually succeeding is called Tinder. And I don't know if you remember how dating looked like before Tinder, but it was more of a Facebook style of profiles and sending a request and hoping the other person would answer and connect, and not so much of a game that everyone actually enjoys playing. Those who are there enjoys playing and gamifies and make it actually a bit less human. But it really brought a lot of people, it really increased the addressable market because they pushed the learning curve, they pushed the usability risks past the point that made sense. So that's the example of risk that you have to deal with. The third risk is feasibility. So feasibility asks the question, what is possible to be built and what is possible to bring to market? How much will it cost me and how much time do I need to bring something to market? I say what is possible to be built and bring to market because a lot of people think about feasibility on the technical side, like can I build this product? But the GTM, the go-to-market, is also really important. All right, what risks are there that will keep me from shipping my product? And the example I usually bring is Amazon Prime Air. Prime Air is basically drones delivering Amazon packages on your door, right? Or maybe on your chimney. I'm pretty sure someone within Amazon thought about Prime Air to drop stuff on chimneys. The reason why you don't have this, and I'm glad, imagine the world filled up with Amazon drones everywhere with that amazing music they do. Imagine this reality, right? You don't have it because, not because Amazon can't build it, they actually can, they have some of the best engineers in the world, but because legally they can't actually operate drones at this level. The aviation authorities don't allow them. They are not giving them the permission to run around with drones delivering packages because they would be able to actually ship it. So when you're thinking about feasibility risks, you're thinking, what risks might exist that will keep me from being able to build and deliver the product to market? Thiago says flying cars with Uber. That's exactly the same thing. Why Uber doesn't have flying cars right now? Mostly, probably there's a cost version to it and some technology there, but most of it is legal, right? Actually, I think they are actually running some pilots in a few cities in the US, but that's actually a really good point. The fourth risk is viability. So viability focuses on the economics, right? I usually call it the economic feasibility problem. Like, how much can I charge? And at this level, can I make a business out of this product, right? Or is it too expensive to make a business out of it and I won't be able to operate it or users won't buy it? A product that fits this probable risk or failed at addressing it is called Google Glass. So Google Glass, which was launched a bit more than 10 years ago, focused on this hardware that you put on your face with augmented reality superimposed on reality that would give you tips about maps and directions and messages and notifications, because I mean, we don't have enough time of screens on our face and we need glasses to do that, of course. The problem here was that building it and marketing it would cost $1,500. That's $1,500. And I mean, right now, it actually doesn't seem a lot because we're used to paying that for an iPhone. But this is at a time where iPhones cost a fifth of this, $300, $350. So imagine it would be the equivalent of now shipping a product like this costing $5,000. That's the equivalent back in the day, because this is what people compare with. So pretty hard to make a case for people spending 5 times more than an iPhone on this type of product, right? And below that, it wouldn't be ROI positive given development, the R&D, and the product itself, right? So that's why eventually Google Glass ended up pivoting into the B2B side for doctors, civil engineers, architects, all of that, because there the B2B budgets are a bit healthier than the consumer side. Finally, the last risk is ethical risks. And the ethical risk asks the question, how can my solution harm the customer, society at large, a community? So how can it be abused that might bring harm to these stakeholders and of course, eventually shareholders? And I think a company that ended up being famous for not addressing ethical risks was Facebook, right? From the Cambridge Analytica hack to new data showing teen depression on Instagram, to all the things that they do to influence behavior. So you can see how a lot of companies go through this, especially companies that have scale, that deal with customer information. Ethical risks are a common situation. Now, these are 5 types of risks that I push my team into sitting down and ask themselves, what are possible situations that by building my product, I might face, that I need to prepare, that I need to understand and have an answer, whether I'm going to build or not, that I need to know. What type of desires do I need to tackle? What type of usability risks can I see? What is a feasibility problem in shipping what I need to ship? Can I make a viable product to the market? And what ethical problems might I face? So this is one of the most important and deepest exercises I run with my teams as we are discussing new features, new problems, new products. All right, is this clear? Super simple, right? Cool, let's see how clear and how simple. I have a challenge for you. And the challenge, and I'm gonna break you guys into rooms. Right, this is the weird part. You're gonna have to talk with other people. Oh, it was so comfortable here on the warmth of my 4 walls, and I'm going to push you into doing something. And the challenge I have to you is called Instagram for Kids. All right. So imagine that I'm Mark, poor Mark, right? Very rich, poor Mark. And I'm going to you, you're the PMs at Facebook or at Meta. And I'm challenging you to think, we need to build Instagram for kids. Think kids from 8-year-olds to 13-year-olds, right? Because above 30, they can use normal Instagram. But I want to build Instagram for kids. But I need to do a risk assessment. I need to understand what risks might I face as we scope what Instagram for kids could look like. And you're the PMs. You need to handle this. This okay? All right. I'm going to give you guys around 5-6 minutes, okay, to run this exercise. Okay, I'm going to prepare our breakout rooms. I'm going to put around 4 or 5 people per breakout room. Then we're going to use 5 minutes to discuss a bit. Each room, maybe give an answer to a risk or two and why, which type of pillar do they sit. Of course, if there's no rooms volunteering, I'm going to volunteer anyone. I don't care. I rule this. So I'm going to open up the rooms, put 6 minutes here. Is this okay? 6 minutes? Do you think it's enough? Yeah, no, I see a lot of people saying no. I love this false democracy.
We hope so.
Like, yeah, it's fine. I'm going to decide anyway. Cool. All right. I'm going to open the rooms and I'm going to bring you back after 6 minutes. See you in a few minutes. You should have your room there. All right, we're back. I think I have everyone back. I don't know if you noticed, but you still had like 20 seconds or so available. But first lesson in product, you'll never have the entire resources that the company promised you. So I think I'm just trying to bring you to reality, right? Like that's how it works. But I promise next time, the next breakout room, you'll have full time. Very likely I'm going to break that promise as well. Okay, cool. So we ran our exercise. Instagram for kids for sure will be built. Because me, Mark, I rule the world, therefore what I say becomes true. Or is it not? Anyone wants to volunteer, be the first to tell maybe one of your risks and where it sits and why should I care about that? The first one is always the hardest one. Spokesperson, anyone? No one?
Yeah, I can volunteer myself.
Okay, Abbas. Hope I'm saying your name correctly. Go for it.
Yeah, you said it correctly. So from our room, we actually got two main risks. The first one is the ethical one, is how we can actually regulate the adult content regarding the posts, the feed, how we can actually contain this, because this is very sensitive to this actually age of groups. And
Okay, so there's an ethical risk around the type of content that is shared within an Instagram for kids because it's dangerous if that's not regulated. So we got to be careful with what shows there, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, ethical risk makes sense. I could argue there's also a usability risk around the content creation and who does it and how we pull that content. But I see the ethical approach, right? What's the second one?
Second one is how we can evolve the desirability between this age of group, because they actually use many different social media channels. So how we can build this kind of a new value for them to actually use the platform.
Okay, there's a desirability risk. Like, how do we make this the best place for them to exist in terms of value that is more valuable than whatever other products they're using? All right, there's two clear risks on the ethics side on desirability. And thank you, Abbas, for being the icebreaker of our breakout rooms. Okay, other rooms. Anyone else wants to join on the discussion? Okay, we have Leo there, or Leo. I never know how people like to call.
Yeah, it's fine, Leo, in English.
Leo is good. All right, Leo, tell us.
So we have also one issue, one ethical risk.
Okay.
It's the you want to keep predators or pedophiles
on
the platform and fake profiles as well.
Okay.
But this creates also usability risk, because then the process would be kind of long or cumbersome. You would have to verify yourself, and this might be an issue. For people.
Okay, so we have an ethical risk around the type of people that go there, and how do you create a verification process that keeps the wrong type of people accessing an 8 to 13-year-old pool of people, which is a very dangerous approach, especially if you allow faking who you are. So I think that's perfect. Another risk. Thanks, Leo. Anyone else? Okay, Ezekiel, go for it.
Yeah, we in our room, we put one in the usability. I don't know if it's in usability, but it raised the question if all kids have phones or not, because in the end, not all the kids would have it. And also maybe in viability, Instagram runs on ads, and those are not aimed for kids, are aimed for people that have money, that they will be their parents. So I don't think it's viable to have it.
Yeah, exactly. So usability issues, like how do kids even use the app? Do they have phones? Do they have maybe tablets that the parents bought for them? So is this maybe a product that we built for iPads and Android tablets? And on the revenue side, can we even build a business on this? If we run this on ads, like, are they going to click on ads and then ask parents to buy it? They're going to scream and cry. Probably they're better salespeople than most advertisers. But still, is this a valid business model? And even I can argue on the business side, can we even do that? Can we even show ads to kids legally speaking? Maybe we can't even do that. So I think those are great points. Any last person wants to add something that hasn't been touched yet?
Hello. No, sorry.
Go for it, Rodrigo.
In our group, we talked about the usability also in the sense of having like a parent control on it. So like to signing up or
so the risk is how do parents trust that their kids can access this? Like, will I be able to control, see what they're seeing, guarantee some protection and security? So there's a risk there for the parent side. They need to have some type of experience. I think that makes absolute sense. João, you're going to add something. Go for it.
It was pretty much related to this one. So what if parents don't allow kids to use it? So how can you give them trust that all the controls are in place?
Yeah, there's also a desirability risk. Like, how did we create desire for parents to be okay with this value proposition, right? I think it makes absolute sense. And I loved how nobody touched on the signing up. Like, how do kids actually sign up? Do they have an email? Do they have a phone number? Do they have anything that identify them online? How do they even come to the app? So I think all of these discussions, as you can see, are valid risks that any product manager needs to assess as they go and tackle a problem space. They want to build something. This is maybe the most valuable exercise I run with my team as we think about new products and new features, is how do we assess actual user-centric risks? Because in the end of the day, we might not even face them. We might build something and some of these risks might not come up, but if they do, they might actually kill our product. So this is one of the most valuable. I hope you enjoyed doing this. We try to run our breakout rooms with specific exercises on each session. This was the one from session 1. All right, let's go back to our slides and go to the final topic of today's session, which is pillar number 3, understand users, which also kicks off second session for next week, which is going to be all about users. So users, or someone who interacts with a product in order to reach a goal. So users. So I always have a hate-love relationship with users, because fortunately or unfortunately, it's always a human, and humans are very irrational, and building product for irrational beings is not easy, let me tell you, but we need to understand them to make good decisions, right? And it's important for everyone here to understand that because we're building something for users and users are irrational, we need to tackle product as a process that starts with searching, and that search has 2 elements there, 2 moments. It has a discovery moment and a validation moment. We're going to talk a bit about discovery today, and then we're going to expand discovery next week and go through validation next week. But search is where we're going to focus. Why? Because we want to get to a moment called product market fit, or PMF. And product market fit is very simple. Is when you build something that fits whatever a market wants to buy, use, or consume. Now, it's important to define market here. A market is the sum of people who have a problem times the willingness to pay to solve that problem. Because it's not just important to have a problem or a lot of people with a problem, they also have to pay for it. Otherwise, that's not much of a market. Also, if you don't have a lot of people with a problem, they better be willing to pay a lot of money to solve that problem. So you have a market, right? So it's very important to define market. Then it's very important to understand how we get to product market fit. And this is what we're going to be talking today and next week, how to get closer and closer to product market fit. And on the last session around measurement, success measurement, we're actually going to talk about how to measure how close you are to product market fit, but that's on the last session. Now, discovery, we're going to focus. There are 2 steps: problem space, like, are we solving a real problem? Who are the people behind this problem? Are they the ones I think they are? And only then we can talk about solutions. So we always start with problem, but we need to understand who is the person behind the problem. How do I know this, right? And I'm going to tell you a story. I think this story is one of the best representations of thinking about the people behind a problem and how sometimes it's not who we think they are. So this story is very simple. And maybe you've heard about the story. It's called the milkshake story. And the person who told us is Clayton Christensen. He told at Harvard. And he does it much better than I do, or did, because he's passed away. But the milkshake story goes a bit like this. So there's this fast food company, and that he's seeing the health trends growing and growing, and they think, oh, fast food and healthy food, they don't really go hand to hand. We got to have an answer to position ourselves a bit closer to healthy. And they run some market research, and they realize their best approach is fruit milkshakes. If we add fruit milkshakes to our menu, people will start replacing their sodas like Coca-Cola, 7-Up, and whatnot through fruit milkshake, and feel like their menus are healthier, and they still come to our fast food and everything will be okay. So they build the product, beautiful milkshake, a lot of different flavors. They add to their menu special discount and pricing, and nothing. Sales are meager, they're miserable, they don't grow, they exist, but they're so small, and they really want to understand where the sales are happening, why are people buying, and they run some research, and what they figure out is 3 edge cases. So typical cases atypical cases. So the first one is that majority of sales are happening in drive-throughs, majority of sales are happening in the morning, and the majority of sales are being just a milkshake, no menu. All of them are edge cases. Majority of sales are happening in stores, majority of sales are bought as a menu, and majority of sales happen in lunch and dinner. So why the hell is this happening? What happened here? Crazy. So they go and talk with customers. They ask them, okay, why? Why are you buying a milkshake? What's making you come on the drive-through in the morning and buy just a milkshake? And what they realize, what people say, is that they're choosing to buy the milkshake because they need to have breakfast. And when they think about having breakfast in the morning, they realize that they're going to sit for an hour in traffic in their car. And they're thinking, what is the best option for my breakfast given my situation? And they compare it with possibilities like, I can have coffee. Coffee is easy, right? But coffee makes me go to the bathroom. And that sucks when I'm stuck in a car for an hour, not an option. I could have a croissant or a donut, but then I'm going to get full of crumbs and I'm going to my workplace. I can't be messy as I drive to work. And I only have one hand available. So I'm really limited on the type of products that I can consume in the car, right? And I'm going to do this every single day. If I eat the same thing every day, if I choose to eat a banana or a piece of fruit or even a chocolate bar, it's always the same. I'm going to get bored. I'm going to be fed up. So I need to be able to change different flavors, etc. Also, I need to feel full because this is my first meal. You need to really pack up the calorie, right? And finally, if you actually said, oh, I'm driving my kid to school in the back. I don't know if you're parents, but a kid in the back of a car in the morning, they get really annoying. So if I can get them to drink my milkshake because it's fine for them, they actually get entertained, the flavor, they like it. So it feels like the milkshake is actually the perfect product for this specific situation. Not when I go to lunch or dinner and I ask for a menu. No, I like my Coca-Cola. In reality, when I think about this product, it's not actually competing with Coca-Cola or in a menu. It's competing with me choosing a banana in the morning or a croissant for breakfast or even a Snickers bar as I go on the car. Very different alternatives because that's how products compete. They don't compete to the similar product in a similar setup. They compete how humans think what could be a solution to solve for my problem right now. And in the case of the milkshake in the morning, this is who I'm competing with. And you'd ask, okay, then this is all about that type of person that goes for breakfast in the car, etc. No, it's anyone that has to go on a car, that has to commute, that will be stuck in traffic, that thinks about breakfast as important, that needs to take care of that as they go. That's the type of people. Right? And this isn't happening just on milkshakes in the morning. And now I know maybe you won't believe, but I created this slide in 2019 before a pandemic. And I asked the question, who is actually most likely to compete with Office Space? And it's not the WeWorks, and back then WeWork was pretty hot. It's not the WeWorks with better office spaces. It's actually Zoom with remote working, with teleworking, with being able to work from anywhere and hop in on a call and communicate asynchronously or synchronously. It's Zoom. And the proof that I did this is I bought Zoom stock in 2019 and I'm pretty happy right now. So you got to think about competitors in actually a very different way. It's about who actually can be a better approach to be hired for a job. In reality, all we're talking about is the theory jobs to be done. This is how product thinking works, is how do people think about the job that they need to fulfill, having breakfast in the car, and what are the available options to be hired for that specific situation. And well, nice that you said hop in on a call when you're talking about Zoom. Yeah, imagine. Hopin, great, by the way, great name, great brand for a streaming company product. Someone should build that. And actually, if you don't believe how people allocate attention and value, depending on situations and moments, just look at Zoom and airlines, for example. As the pandemic went on, Zoom was growing like crazy and airlines dropping as crazy. And the moment that the vaccine is announced, you actually have a perfect inverse correlation on stock price between Delta and Zoom. Perfect. Because in the end of the day, depending on context, depending on causality, people allocate different value to things because that's how it correlates in the real world. And when you ask, okay, but if I build product, I got to understand my users. I got to understand their profile and their characteristics and their demographics, geographics. Like people always taught me personas matter. Well, I ask you, when thinking about customers and users, do you think someone would buy a KitKat because they're a 25 to 30-year-old that has an undergraduate degree, a dog, and loves to travel? Is that what makes you buy a KitKat? Or you buy it because there's a purpose, because you're hungry. Maybe you only have a couple of coins, you're feeling that crave for sugar, maybe you're on the go. Probably these are the characteristics based on your context, not on who you are, but on your context that makes you act, makes you hire a KitKat for the job of filling up that hunger and with the situation, the context you're in. Of course, then at scale, correlation with personas too does happen. Marketing loves personas. It makes the messaging much easier. But when you're building product, especially early on, it's not easy that you want. It's right that you want. Actually, I generally challenge people to create ad libs. So ad libs are small sentences that try to encapsulate knowledge, right? If you actually look at an ad lib of a persona, it generally goes like this: as a whatever, a persona, as John, I want to do something so that I achieve a specific outcome. Now, the fact that SA doesn't exist because the persona is fictional, John 35, etc., does not exist, that makes that desire, I want to, also an assumption. It doesn't exist. So it's really risky to start building product, investing money to build something for fictional situations. It's much easier if you focus on the context, on the observable situation. When something happens, when I want to have breakfast in my car, I want to something, I have a motivation, I want to feel full, I don't want to have crumbs all over my shirt, I want to be able to entertain my kid in the back, so that I can achieve a specific outcome that you can actually observe from the person who's feeling this problem, who's motivated to solve for something. So jobs to be done in observational job stories, so how these are called job stories, are ways to encapsulate how your user or customer might think about the problem. Ezekiel is asking, does this mean you don't believe in personas? So I do believe in personas. What I don't believe is personas guiding our decision-making process if we didn't understand how users are thinking from a jobs perspective. All right, that's what I don't believe. If you only focus in personas, you'll end up excluding customers who actually fit the type of problem you're solving for. You might exclude communities because they may be minorities or because they might correlate with a type of persona that doesn't fit your radar, etc. What I want to focus, and we're going to go deeper in session 2, is focusing not on who the person is, but more on how the person acts. And then eventually you can fill up the persona guide because you've covered enough use cases and enough behaviors to make your product market fit. Cool, Ezekiel?
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the question. Now, in the end of the day, you want to get to a UX solution or user experience solution. You want to build a profile, but before you build a profile, you got to understand the causality. What's causing a problem? What are the anxieties that come from a user being exposed to that problem? And what are the motivations that drive them to choose a product to solve the job from that problem? You want to see the cause of commuting in the car. You want to see the anxieties of not being able to go to the bathroom, not feeling crumbs, not getting the kid annoying in the back. And you want to see the motivations of picking a product that allows me to switch around, that allows me to pick with one hand, that I like the flavor, et cetera, et cetera. That's the type of information that you want to gather from talking with customers so that you can build a customer profile. Make sense? For sure? No questions on this topic? Because next week, we're going to go deep into customer profiling. We have to understand who is the user. We got to codify it. But I think for today, we're done. 8 p.m. sharp. Literally, you can't do better than this. Boom, this is how it works. This is the bar that I need to put. So congratulations, you survived session 1. It's easy, right? Time kind of flies by. Or not. Hopefully it does. Cool. Was it clear? Pace good? Do I need to adjust for next session or we're there? I think we're pretty much there. All right, I'm happy. Okay, cool. Any questions before we wrap up today's session? No, we're good?
Go
for it, Rodrigo.
I had a question. I wrote in.
You wrote in the chat. Go.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I had the mic issue and I couldn't ask. Like.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You have the time now.
So I was asking if a PM is also responsible of a maintenance phase. So is a PM also responsible for managing or has a responsibility in a maintenance phase? Or
all right. So I don't believe in maintenance phase because maintenance means that you finished your job. You're now maintaining something, and that's actually not true in product. I usually say, and I'm going to talk about this on session 4, shipping is the beginning. When you ship is when you start gathering information, whether you made the right decisions. It's when users are facing your product and actually making the decision of pulling the credit card and saying, this is what I want, or switching from whatever they're using to a new experience. That's when you start getting data. And that's, as I said, how you start knowing what comes next, what's the iteration, what's the evolution, what's V2. So there's no such thing as maintenance, right? There's an evolution. And yes, as long as the PM has a motivation called a metric, a measurement, or value that needs to be extracted by evolving the product, then of course the product manager should still keep managing a product as you ship. Shipping is the beginning, not the end.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome, Khalid. Thanks for the question. Any more questions? We're good? All right. Okay, thank you very much, first of all, for being here, for joining the program. I hope you're excited. This is just the beginning. Thursday, join me, 12:45. You have the link on your calendar, also on Slack. If you have questions, drop on Slack. We're going to be talking with Ilya. I'm going to put his profile in the Slack. I hope you enjoyed. We're going to follow up with invoices and all the things I'm going to write there as well. Really, really glad you're here. Your time is more valuable than anything you pay. That's the asset you don't get back. So I'm really honored to have your time with me. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much. Have a great week. Okay, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.